Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina. I'm Sam Thompson and I'm proud to be your 66th president. Hey. We are coming to you live from the Edina Country Club and also on Zoom. We have pre-registered 36 live and 28 Zoom. I joined the Rotary Club of Edina in 2013 and I just started a new career and wanted to become more involved within our community. I remember my first few meetings thinking, these people are pretty friendly. The location's good at the Edina Country Club. It worked well with my office. The food was good, and I thought the speakers were really interesting. So for the first 4 to 5 months, I would come to our meetings, and I'd be comfortable meeting new people and listening to good speakers. Then John Flynn encouraged me to join a committee, specifically Camp Enterprise. And John knew that I had owned a business previously and thought I would be a good mentor. So I joined Camp E, and I'm glad I did. Yet I needed a nudge from John to do it. So there are many reasons why we join Rotary. The camaraderie, the social events, the education, and giving back. And the top way to give back is to join one of our committees. Gandhi once said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And that is what we're all about, service above self. I'd like to show you our 9 main committees that you could be involved with. First, Club Service. That's the committee that runs our meetings here. Community service projects would be our boots on the ground. They get involved with the volunteer work that we do. Community service grants, vets and approves our local grants. International service grants, vets and approves our international grants. Our public image promotes our club. Social organizes all of our social gatherings. The Rotary Foundation supports Rotary International financially. Our youth services has 10 different youth programs, all the way from 3rd grade up to our young professionals, which would be our Rotaract club. And then our membership, which recruits and retains our members. Due to COVID, we've had some limitations. Some projects have canceled, specifically with some of our social events and youth programs. But we have extremely talented board of directors, and we're fortunate. We're finding opportunities to continue to get together. We've started and are doing the virtual leadership, which has done really well. We have a global scholarship in the works right now, which is new for us for next year. That I think it's been years since we've had one, and this is a student that we're hoping to send to Denmark. And our car show, of course. We're able to have our 2nd annual and keep that going. Last Thursday, I sat in on the community service projects meeting. And it was on Zoom, like many of our meetings are. And this committee wants to make sure that we're doing the right thing, that when we're going to our nonprofits, that our members are safe. And this committee is actually working on a plan, contacting the organizations like Feed My Starving Children and VEEP to make sure that they are even taking people and that it's safe for us. And in a month, Lisa Walker, who's the chair for this committee, will be coming back with a plan up here at the podium. So I'm glad John Flynn gave me a nudge 7 years ago. I believe working with your fellow Rotarians and giving back on a committee is a top Rotary benefit. And if you're currently on a committee or two, I want to thank you. And if you're considering joining a committee or have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to answer your questions and have you become more involved with the committee. Okay, next, our member update. Dave Hadsung. Dave Hadsung at Mount Olivet just last Sunday. It was the 16th annual car show for them. There's Dave standing next to his 1967 Austin Healey 3000. I think Dave's in the room. Yeah, Dave's in the back there. Hey, Dave. It's one of 70 cars that were in the show. It's the first car show of the summer, and Dave gave me a quote. He said, "Looking forward to bringing my car to the Rotary's 2nd annual car show, September 12th, And we'd like to thank our sponsors for that show, Key Cadillac, Grandview Tire and Auto, and Sotheby's. Next, Kelly Burnett has just got back, just was on vacation with her family. And her quote was, the best we could get, 2 tired, 1 crying, and 1 happy as a clam. The sad guy in the middle is Jake, who's 5 years old. He didn't want to get out of the pool to take the photo. And the smiley girl is Elsa, and she's 8. Then we had Rotary Club in the news. Rotaract had their picnic. This is our Young Professionals Club. At Roslyn Park, it was last Thursday. It was their first social for the Rotaract Club in 2020. And Mark Gassner, the president, said it really felt good. And the district had a hybrid training. We were the first club in the district to go hybrid, to actually have a live meeting and do it with Zoom. This training was last Thursday, and Bridget Hallstrom and Josh Sprague from our club actually were leading this training. So hats off to, I know Bridget's not here today, they had 150 people on the Zoom call. So that was great. People from within the Twin Cities and outside of the state too. And we just had our last Tuesday night, our Race and Racism Leadership Series. We had 32 people signed up for it. So that's going really well. Birthdays, Tom Bach and Kip Peterson have a birthday this next week. And Rotary Anniversaries, we have 3 of them there. And Don Erickson, 63 years. That's fantastic. All right, Don. Okay, assisting off podium, our greeter is Brad Hepp. Lisa Walker is on Zoom. Hi, Lisa. Front desk is Susan Johnson. Photographer, Jennifer Benarat. And just so you know, we're not doing a Barker right now during COVID. And the reason being is we're having a challenge filling roles. And we're also able to put our meetings on YouTube. So we can go to YouTube, we can bookmark it, and you're able to see the meeting by going to YouTube. And one last comment is please remember to keep your masks on after you're done eating for the safety of our members. Thank you so much. With that, I'd like to call up Michael Stanzak to do our invocation, pledge, and the 4-way test.
Good afternoon, everyone. In honor of our speaker, Steve Pontius, and the fact that I got to go for my physical for the first time in 18 months yesterday, and I got a shingle shot, I'd like to make a prayer for the doctors and nurses. Please bow your head. Lord, we thank you for those who heal others, for those individuals who are doctors and nurses who spend much of their lives helping to cure and to ease the pain of people who are ill. We pray, Lord, that you would bless them, encourage them, and give them strength, for surely they are doing your will. Amen. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And of the things that we think, say, and do, right, Becky? Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Welcome to our guests today. Our first guest, Lori Severson from the Edina Chamber. I'm sure most people know who she is. And then Evie Tegan. I want to say Tengdin because I'm a Tengdin, but you're a Tegan. So welcome. And her husband is here to introduce her. Welcome. And then visiting Rotarian is Terrell Brum. Where are you? There you are. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to Zoom and have a couple announcements on Zoom.
Hey, everybody. This is Kip Peterson. Quick announcement on Camp Enterprise. For newer members who aren't familiar with Camp Enterprise, it's one of our largest youth service projects. It carries a budget of over $40,000, most of which is supported through other sponsoring Rotary clubs. And the goal of Camp Enterprise is not only to introduce students to Rotary, but to also introduce them to the concepts of capitalism, free enterprise, and entrepreneurship. We maintain a pretty comprehensive website, so if you've never checked it out, go to www.campenterprise.org. But now really for the substance of the announcement is that, to no one's surprise, Camp Enterprise 2020, which was to be the 40th year of Camp Enterprise, is canceled due to coronavirus concerns. We're certainly concerned about the safety of our volunteers, course student campers, and we saw significant challenges to putting that event on in a socially distanced environment, and we just made some conclusions that marketing to other clubs and prospective students to attend camp would be virtually impossible given the concerns around COVID. So no Camp Enterprise this fall, but we are looking forward already to next fall. The chair for next year's Camp Enterprise will be Mary Brindle from the Morningside Club. And we also are excited to announce that we're going to start working on launching a counterpart project, Camp Enterprise Junior, for younger students. We're targeting probably 9th and 10th graders as a potential feeder into Camp Enterprise. We certainly have challenges every year recruiting potential students to attend, and we think that might be a great way to help alleviate some of those challenges. And we're going to try to put it on in a format that will allow other clubs around our state and throughout the district to potentially host similar programs in their communities. So more to come on Camp E Junior, but if you're interested in participating in this youth service project, certainly contact Sam Thompson or myself. Thank you. Oink.
Okay, now we go to Catherine.
This is Catherine Gump, and I'm making an announcement about the Gala. And we are having a Gala this year, but it'll be a little different than previous years. This year we'll have it both on Saturday, September 26th and Saturday, October 3rd. We have 8 different venues for each of those evenings. And I have to tell you, I am so impressed by the generosity. I shouldn't be, but I'm so impressed by the generosity of the Edina Rotary Club. We've had fabulous sponsors. We have amazing hosts. This is really going to be a special gala. It's a year like no other, and this will be a gala like no other. So you will have the chance to go to a choice of about 16 different countries. You might want to go to Korea with Wooge, or maybe England with Katie and Ralph Campbell. You can come to our house and we'll have a Chinese gourmet dinner for you one evening. So lots of really special events. The invitations are going to come out next week, and you're going to choose which evening you want to go to, and then make your choice, your top 3 choices of which country you want to go to. We will do our best to honor those countries, but I highly recommend getting your RSVPs in early because they're going to go. It's not an unlimited ballroom. Set number of places, really, really special. You're going to want to be there. So we'll get your invitations. Bjorn, Sam, and I are happy to answer questions about it as well. But again, thank you. Like, amazing sponsors, amazing hosts. What a club we've got, raising money for all of our various community efforts. Turning it back to you, Sam.
Okay, thank you, Catherine and Kip from his barn, I guess. And now we're going to come back live. And one thing I wanted to mention was Kip was involved with putting a nice video together for Camp Enterprise. So we want to show it to you. It's a quick 2-minute video.
Camp Enterprise is a signature project of the Rotary Clubs of Edina and Edina Morningside, made possible through the support of Rotary Clubs throughout Minnesota and western Wisconsin. Each year, we welcome 120 high school juniors and seniors to camp, where they are introduced to the free enterprise system through a series of keynote speakers and an in-depth, team-based case study. At Camp Enterprise, we focus on developing students' skills in entrepreneurship, leadership, and business ethics, while working to mentor tomorrow's business and community leaders. But you don't have to take our word for it. Let's ask some of the students of Camp Enterprise what they think.
Camp Enterprise is a 3-day little retreat. Here we come to the woods, and we're kind of secluded and just immersed in the business process.
We get a case study, and as a group we have to figure out the different aspects of how to present it to the venture capitalists.
You listen to speakers, you learn about business, and you learn about the world and how it works.
You get to work with new people and work on different things that you wouldn't normally work on. It's teamwork, it's leadership, it's your speaking skills, it's being able to focus and work on projects.
You don't have to know anything ahead of time. They teach you everything here It's a great opportunity to just jump in, get your feet wet.
The CFO in our group knew nothing about finance and now sounds like a complete genius in front of all of us when she's talking about all the numbers.
There's been a lot of really great speakers. Seeing other people actually take their passions and goals and turn it into something, and like knowing that it is possible is just really encouraging.
Knowing that they're just like us and we have the opportunity to be like them. I would say someone should come to Camp Enterprise because it's an amazing experience no matter what career you're going into, even if it's not specifically business. Personally, I've gotten a lot of advice and also different perspectives on different challenges that people have had. After coming here, I feel like I could be able to understand a lot more than before I came.
Camp Enterprise is the best place I've ever been to. I've been to camps, I've done everything. But this place, it feels special to me somehow. And I think it's really important that you take the time to consider it.
Okay, yeah, we just produced that video, so we wanted to show that to you. And now we also have, we have a 4-part video series with our gala, and we're highlighting our host. And this is the second of 4 that we want to show to you, brought to you by the B-52s. We'd like to thank Dr. Dash, who's in the room, for being our presenting sponsor, too. Okay, next we'd like to call Susan Johnson.
I will be quick today because I know we've got a wonderful speaker we want to get to. I'm here on behalf of the Social Committee today to talk about 2 events we have coming up here in September. The first is going to be on September 9th, and it is a mixer between the Edina Rotary Clubs and the Edina Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be held at Pinstripes. We currently have about 16 Rotary members that are registered. If you want to register for this, please go to the website. I believe there was also a link in the Barker for this week, and register for that. As far as Pinstripes, we obviously feel very safe with their COVID-19 protocols. Masks are going to be required to enter the building. Masks have to stay on while moving about. Masks are allowed to be removed when you're at your safe zone table, and guests are 6 feet apart from each other. Bocce and bowling still available, 5 guests per lane per court. And then the event will have a private safe zone room. So that's that event. Then on September 26th, we're doing the virtual walk to end Alzheimer's. That one is going to occur at Centennial Lakes and followed up by a lunch at Pinstripes. There is a link on our website to go ahead and register for that. That's all I got.
And I'm going to be introducing Mike Martiny. One quick announcement before I do. Next week is our Prospective Member Day, August 27th. So invite a guest, both at the Edina Country Club and on Zoom. We'll cover your lunch if you come here. The speaker is Amber Backos, who's with the Minnesota Auto Dealers Association. And she's going to talk about the future of the auto industry and emissions. She's calling her talk California Dreaming, Why California Emission Standards Are Wrong for Minnesota. And Mike Stanzak has seen her talk, and he says she's really good. Okay, I'd like to introduce Mike. We'll be introducing our speaker. Mike Martiny spent 34 years in consumer foods before retiring in August of 2018 as Chief Information Officer at General Mills. He is currently Chief Operating Officer and a board member of Medicare Services Pioneer HRA IQ. In addition to Rotary, Mike is the executive in residence for the Information and Decision Sciences Department at the Carlson School of Management and serves as a board member for the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Twin Cities, the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, and Amplify Mission Network. Mike and Susan have been married for 34 years and have 4 children. Mike's interests include mountain biking, motorcycle riding, and keeping the little British and Italian cars running. Please welcome Mike.
So most of us are lucky enough to have a lot of friends. Now, most of us. Let you decide. If you're anything like me, though, your friends are either friends of your wife's spouses or people that are in your life for important periods of time and then move on. You have very few friends that have been with you for a very long time. The friends that come in and out of our lives are important. The friends that stay with us for a long time are really, really special. Today's speaker is the only person with me and my family through happiness and sadness for the last 34 years. And without a doubt, is the only person I'd put dress pants on in the middle of summer, in the middle of pandemic. After a stint with Baxter Healthcare, refining his ability to sell commodity items to small-minded buyers all across the upper Midwest, Steve has been building businesses. As co-founder of Minute Clinic, he established a new way to think about common illnesses and treatment outside traditional medical facilities, changing the way medical services are delivered. Minute Clinic was acquired by CVS in 2006. With 60 million people on Medicare now, Steve saw a new opportunity. HRAIQ specializes in collecting data and on senior populations within their homes, and then that data is shared with physicians, payers, and healthcare networks to ensure that those patients get the best care in the future. Steve holds a BA in Business Administration and Commerce from Westminster College and holds board positions at the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Twin Cities, Groves Academy, and Amplify Mission Network. Please join me with a warm welcome for Steve Pontius.
Thank you, Mike, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. One of the things you'll find about speaking is if the person that's doing the introduction, if you sign their paycheck, chances are you get a pretty good introduction. So thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. A lot of my thunder's already been stolen, so this will be a quick conversation. My goal here is to kind of zip through my slides to leave time for questions, because usually people ask me a lot about who I am, and I have, look at that picture, wow. Ask me specific questions about where they are and questions they might have within what I've done or what we're currently doing. So I'm just going to try to leave some time for that as well. We're going to talk a little bit about my background. I've spent over 25 years in the venture capital world, startup businesses, and kind of that field. So I have extensive knowledge. I'm known as a disruptor. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but that's what I'm known as. And so I'll share some of those thoughts with you as well. My background, we've kind of gone through most of it. Born and raised here in Edina. I lived kind of around the country and next door to Mike. That's how we met a million years ago, and have been back here for close to 30 years. Raised our kids here, coached hockey here for 20 years, and am a member of the Edina Country Club as well. So I'm on 3 boards, which have already been mentioned. Terrell's here from the Boys and Girls Club. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you. Amplify Mission and Groves Academy are some of the nonprofit work that I do in my spare time, usually from midnight to 3 a.m. So let's jump into a little bit about startup businesses and how that whole transition works. First of all, you need to understand that it's not for everyone, and the facts will absolutely, if you're not aware of the facts, you'll kind of shake your head and go, boy, you must be crazy. Number one, 90% of all startups fail. And they fail for all kinds of reasons. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons. I'm happy to answer some questions if you'd like about experience within that, but that's one of the things that happens. Interestingly enough, of the venture capital money that's invested in startup businesses, 75% of those fail. Those are 10, 50, 100, $200 million investments in large companies that are trying to change the world. And those fail almost at the same level. So it's not just about having money and being able to do that. It's what you do with it and where you are within the transformation of what you're trying to accomplish. Number 3, 49% of businesses don't make it to 5 years. So if you're in a business that's been in operation for 5 years, HRAIQ, the current business that I'm involved in and Mike is involved in, we've passed our 5-year anniversary, so we're pretty excited about that. It's a pretty big hurdle to get through. Don't make it because of the challenges that happen along the way of that. And when I'm asked often about why businesses fail, money, 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 money. And that money can be all kinds of things. Undercapitalized, not enough float for accounts receivable, accounts payable, those kind of things. Overexpansion. If you think about Lifetime Fitness at Southdale, you spend all that money opening that facility and then there's a global pandemic. Things like that happen that you have to have money in your coffers to be able to make it. Small businesses, restaurants, those people are really struggling because you don't have working capital for 5 months to a year just sitting there going, we can investment spend out of it. That's why the PPP money is so important to people along the way. So it's a business that people try to get involved in because they say things like, oh, I can do that better. And you might be able to, but there's a lot more to it than just being able to do that better or differently. So not for everybody, and the people that I know that have been successful would say to you that they have taken an idea and changed it or moved it to a different way of doing something. And that's the way that most of those businesses become successful. Number 2, if you're a venture capital person, the idea we throw around a lot is if you were to invest in 10 businesses, 7 of them are not going to work. They're going to epically fail. 2 of them are going to be kind of, sort of, maybe okay, and 1 of them will be a home run. And that has absolutely held true. I could have spent 20 minutes telling you about all my failures because I've got a lot of them. And they failed for different reasons and different things, but that's kind of the way it works. This is a tough business to be in, and one that I think is super gratifying on the back end, win, lose, or draw, but takes special people to be able to endure what needs to happen to be able to get there. So that's a little bit about the facts. Who in here or on Zoom remembers a company called Quick MedX? I see all the hands going up. That's great. Quick MedX was the original name for Minute Clinic. It was a bad name. And I think we have plenty of people that think HRAIQ is a bad name too. So I think that's important, and it was changed later in the process. But some interesting facts about Minute Clinic. Minute Clinic was formed here in Edina, right across from the 14th Green here at Edina Country Club, in an office building that's right across the street there. It was not the preliminary idea that the meeting that we had was set up to formulate. We had a separate meeting around what we were trying to do. This is in 1999. We were trying to create a way for doctors, rural doctors, to be able to talk to in-city doctors about cases that they would have in their clinics and offices that weren't of knowledge that they had because they were rare cases. This is right when the internet was starting. So we formed a group to put that meeting together. That day, there was a full-page ad taken out in the Wall Street Journal from a company called WebMD. So we were really happy that we had a really cool idea. We were too late. And so in passing in that conversation, I had asked a doctor why urgent care took so long. I had taken a son of mine to urgent care on a Sunday morning when it first opened because he had an ear infection. And if you're a parent, you know exactly what the signs of an ear infection are. Tugging of the ear, up all night crying, high temperature. And what you know is if you just get amoxicillin, everyone's going to sleep better, including yourself. And I said I'd waited 3 hours for the doctor to come in and tell me that it was an ear infection. And we took that and started on a whiteboard and created Doc in a Box to McDonald's, where you could order a number one and the number one came the way the number one. Those are real conversations we had during this meeting. And essentially, Minute Clinic was formulated around how you get amoxicillin for ear infections. Not to change healthcare, not to reinvent healthcare. It had nothing to do with that. I get asked often about how we were able to foreshadow the change in healthcare. That's not what we were trying to do. That's what eventually happened. And if you look across the country today, you will see all kinds of walk-in clinics where you don't have to have a primary care doctor to be seen. That stems from the Minute Clinic things that were going on way back when. But it was about how to let the consumer decide what care they wanted at the time. So, also, we're asked all the time about how easy it was and how successful we were at Minute Clinic. There isn't a startup business on this planet that doesn't have super big challenges along the way. I have 3 here that I'll throw up for you to look at. Number 1, our first public offering came out on 9/11. So we were in our attorney's office. We had signed the documents. We were so excited that we were going to start having big growth because we had enough money to get critical mass, which is what we were struggling to get because it's so expensive to open up so many clinics. We walked out and the receptionist was in tears. The first plane had hit the World Trade Center, and I looked at my partners and said, we're screwed. And we were. We self-funded that Minute Clinic then for the next 1.5 years until we were able to find financing around that. So the challenges are the challenges, and they're real challenges, and they're not all big challenges, but they're challenges. If you are business owners, did you sit in your business plan and plan for a global pandemic? No, but you have to be able to figure out how to maneuver around that. Minute Clinic itself should have been bankrupt 5 different times. We were bankrupt, we just didn't tell anybody. And we kept clawing and scratching to get through to the next phase. And the last one, which is an important one, in the end, the 3 founders had to get out of the way. And I tell people all the time, me being one of them, we couldn't agree on what color the sky was. Because we all had our own ideas on how we could get this to the next level. And it had taken so long and we had been so beaten up that it was our job to get out of the way to let the people grow it. And they did. And the good news is that CVS purchased Minute Clinic in 2006 for $170 million. And today, right, in 1999, do you think anybody would have thought, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store and walk through the produce section to get my child a strep test? Unheard of. Why would you ever do that and bring strep to the grocery store? And now it's so commonplace that people think that that's just what we did and we were foreshadowed the whole thing. Absolutely not. It's not the way it works. So this would be one that worked. And it worked for a whole lot of reasons and difficult decisions of being able to say to the 3 founders, we've got to step down. That was a difficult discussion to do that. So that's a little bit about Minute Clinic. Why HRAIQ? The senior population in this country is in trouble. And the global pandemic has done nothing more to than accelerate that. We founded HRAIQ for the specific reason of trying to collect baseline data on Medicare patients to share with payers, hospital systems, clinics, docs, to take better care of those senior folks before they end up in the ER or the hospital. Because when they end up in the ER and the hospital, they cost us all a lot of money. So, over 55 million patients, seniors, So actually, if you include both Medicare and Medicaid, it's probably close to 100. But let's just use 55 because it's a big number. Are on Medicare or Medicaid in the United States today. 30% of those patients don't have a primary care doc. When you don't have a primary care doc, where do you go get help? ER. ER costs 6-7 times. 15% of our budget nationally is for this. So what we've proven is the system does not work for anyone. It doesn't work for the taxpayers. It certainly doesn't work for the patients. It doesn't work for healthcare either. So what we're trying to do, instead of fixing healthcare, is trying to assist healthcare to make it a better and easier process for everyone involved. So in the 5 years that we've been involved with HRAIQ, what have we learned? I'm sure you're struggling to figure out why I put this on there as number one. Healthcare is difficult to change. I talk all the time about it being a fleet of aircraft carriers you're trying to turn. And it's really hard. If we were having this conversation in January, telehealth was voodoo medicine in January. Let's fast forward to where we are today. It's like the savior. The last numbers I saw were close to 4 million video visits have been done across the country. It's been a lifeline in a global pandemic, but who plans for that? You have to adapt and you have to move forward through that. But moving healthcare, exceptionally difficult. The senior population is not being seen in a whole lot of cases. And what happens if you have, and I said this before we started, nobody cares much about Medicare patients or Medicaid patients until it's your patient. Because when it's your mom or your dad, it matters. It matters a lot. And what happens is when patients don't get seen, their chronic conditions become worse. And then they end up on a stretcher in an ER or a hospital, and that costs everybody money. And that's why value-based care is so important and why we're struggling so hard to get to value-based care, to try to stem that tide. We've talked a little bit about patients that go untreated cost us all more substantially. It's proven, and there's statistics out the wazoo. We could spend an hour talking about those. What HRAIQ can do is help lower the cost by visiting these patients in their homes to make it easy for them. We do medication reconciliation at those meetings. We talk about their living conditions. We go through all kinds of things that you don't get to necessarily do when you're seeing your PCP because your doctor's doing this. Hey Steve, how are you? It's great to see you. It looks like you need a colonoscopy and we better make sure that we update your med list. Okay, I gotta go. That doesn't work for the senior population. And so by spending time with them on their level, we get better and cleaner data is what we call it, which helps everybody get better care along the way. And it's a win-win for everybody. That's really what HRAIQ is all about. And home healthcare is the future. Everybody talks about home healthcare, and we're kind of the last mile to help you do that. And that's what we do. So now that I've kind of zipped through those two, let's talk about my big ahas from all my experience. Lots of gray hair and lots of sleepless nights. And Mike Martiny talking me off the ledge probably 3 times a month. Okay, number one, you don't need to have experience in the industry that you're working in to be successful. There's a huge caveat around that. You don't, but you need to have somebody within your organization that understands it. And the reason you have to do that is because your stops and starts will be much less if someone can help you steer down the path quicker. Less costly, you move forward faster. You can learn all of that, but all of that costs time and money. So it's better to have some experience or some knowledge. There are plenty of people that would say it's better to have no knowledge because then you just ask crazy questions and people go, well, we never thought of that, right? That's why consultants get paid so much. Number 2, you need to be all in or you'll fail. All in means 24/7, 365. That's just what it takes. And it's our staff laughs at me all the time because my office is in my basement at home and there's no windows. So if it's 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning, it looks the same. And that's just what it takes. You need to be willing to talk to anybody and go anywhere, because people don't understand, and if you don't start talking to people about it, they are the ones that may say, hey, you should talk too. And that's how you get traction. You can't just walk in to a hospital system or Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota and say, hey, I got a great idea, you should talk to me. It doesn't work that way. So really takes a whole lot of effort. This is one of my favorite lines in business, and if you remember nothing of what I say to you and you want to start a business, this is one you should remember. Twice the time, twice the money. And the way this works is, if you presented me a business plan today with a pro forma and said, okay, Steve, we need to raise $500,000 and it's going to take us 2 years to be profitable, what I would say to you is, that's great. Why don't you plan on $1 million it's going to cost you and 4 years to be profitable? And if you beat that, you're in the 98th percentile of every startup business on the planet. And you have to think that way, because what happens to small businesses, if you go back to what I said when we were talking about the facts, is you're undercapitalized. You figure we're going to put $500,000 in, and that's all we're going to need, because as you see in month 4, we start making money. Doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. And so you should plan on twice the time, twice the money. And if you plan, then you'll have money for things that happen that are unexpected. And it's super important to have it, because going back to get it is hard, and you can't just turn the spigot on in a minute. We'll talk about HRAIQ someday if we become successful and do something with it. We closed on our financing, our first round of VC money on February 25th of 2020, right before the pandemic. I mean, you can't even make it up. That's just what happened. So pretty interesting. Number 3, this is one that you might not think of. If you start a business with a number of partners, chances are great that some or most of them will be gone soon. Why? Refer to the topic above. Twice the time, twice the money. People get nervous. Attitudes change. All kinds of things happen within that. Now, there's a caveat to this, in that many businesses that fail because the person that started it or is the inventor of is so afraid that someone's going to steal their idea that they refuse to share it with anybody and hire any management. And so they try to do everything themselves, and as it grows, they can't do it all, and it implodes on itself. It's a very common theme within startup businesses. You have to hire smart people. Again, that's why you hire Mike Martiny. Super smart. Sometimes the business needs to survive without you. Not that important. You're not that important. It's really important to know that. It's not, you're great and you're smart, but you're not the end all end all. And sometimes the best thing you can do is get out of the way. Minute Clinic's a great example of that. And the bottom line is, you got to have luck. I've just given you a couple of luck things that have happened with HRAIQ, or at least one there, and one bad luck piece with Minute Clinic. So you have to have luck, and you get luck by talking to everybody and working super hard. That's just how you get there. So that's a little bit of my experience. I don't know how much time I have left, but I will open it up for questions from there. Yeah?
How long did it take to sell Minute Clinic, and did you get a lot of offers?
How long did it take to sell Minute Clinic, and did we get a lot of offers? It took, truthfully, we weren't trying to sell it. We had AOL tried to buy it. We had a meeting with AOL, and the owner pulled out a check and said, how much? And we said no to that. And then CVS ended up coming in on the back end of that. I think, and we thought, truthfully, we thought CVS was crazy for writing a check for $170 million back then. And truthfully, what CVS was doing was building the war chest, which has now become CVS Health. It's really a smart idea, to be honest with you. So there weren't a lot of suitors, but there were enough. Yeah?
Can you give us a little more detail on how each clinic is set up, how many people, how many MDs or whatever to staff it and so on?
The question is how each Minute Clinic unit is set up. I can't tell you how it is today because I don't have anything to do with it, but I can tell you how we set it up. It was set up we were set up as a medical practice, and the medical practice was run by a chief medical officer, and then he supervised the advanced practitioners, nurse practitioners back in the day. He supervised those that were there. So they could see and write prescriptions, and we usually had 2 or 3 of them per clinic that rotated through. They worked 2 to 3 12-hour shifts a week is how we did it. Yes?
Steve, Mr. Disruption, what do you see as the next big disruption in healthcare?
It's a great question. What is the next big disruption in healthcare? I think home healthcare is it, and it's it because what we have found through telehealth is that it works and that it makes it easier for the patient. And funny, it's better when it's about the customer. When the customer wants help is when the customer wants help. They're willing to pay for help if they get it when they want it. So I think you'll find home health becoming a really big deal in the next 5 years. And it'll be across, it's the way home health care works now is you have care providers, but not care. Your doctor doesn't come to your house. Sure, there are some that do. There are some of those across the country, but you'll see way more of that. You'll see your clinic coming to your home. Certainly in the senior, in the senior population, that will absolutely be happening. Yeah.
So when you have your consultants going out in the field to these different people, is there any privacy issues that you guys have that these clients have to sign off on? I could see maybe you going into a home and say it's filthy, it's terrible, and probably inhabitable. Do you have to report that to the city or state or anything like that?
The question is, do we have to report things that we find out in the field when our clinicians are visiting patients in their homes? And the answer to that is yes, we do. We also have HIPAA compliancy issues that we have to deal with the information that we collect as well. Social determinants of living is a big deal in the senior community, and that is how you live, and those conditions need to be reported so that correct action can be taken if it's warranted or needed. So, yes to that. One more.
Single payer healthcare, how would that impact what you're doing now?
It's a great question. Single payer healthcare, does that affect us? What I would say to you is no, because what we are is a preventative. And what we're trying to do is lower costs. So the last thing you're going to do is get rid of preventative healthcare. You're going to want more preventative healthcare because that lowers costs across the board. So people have asked often about, well, if Obamacare is taken away, what's going to happen? I think we'll be as busy, if not busier. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We've known each other for a number of years as well as members here at Edina, and I guess I've never really heard your whole message and your businesses and what you've been doing, except golf scores.
So, and those aren't very good.
Never good either.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, for you being here today, from literacy and peace to water and health, Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million problem solvers, like you've been, who unite to take action to create lasting change to better our world. In honor of your presentation, we'll make a donation to the Sheraton Story, an organization focusing on providing weekend and other food gap programs to over 10,000 children in the Twin Cities and metropolitan area. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And you have a 2:20 tea time, right?
Something like that.
Okay, looking ahead, on August 27th, Prospective Member Day, September 12th is our second annual car show. And September 15th is the leadership development, and the topic will be resiliency. Mary Youngren will be talking that night, so it should be great. I want to thank everybody for attending both live and on Zoom, and thank you, Steve, a great talk. I want to leave you with a quote. It's from Patch Adams. You treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you'll win no matter what the outcome. Meeting adjourned.